Second Samuel 3. Let's read verse 30. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, slew Abner, because he had slain their brother Asahel at Gibeon in the battle. So they killed his brother. So they killed him. And David said to Joab and to all the people that were with him, rend your clothes and gird you with sackcloth and mourn before Abner. And King David himself followed the bier. And they buried Abner in Hebron. So they buried him in Hebron. And the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner. And all the people wept. The king lamented over Abner and said, died Abner as a fool dieth? Thy hands were not bound, nor thy feet put in fetters. Wasn't no iron shackles on his feet or his hands. As a man falleth before wicked men, so felleth thou. And all the people wept again over him. When all the people came to cause David to eat meat while it was yet day, David sware, saying, so do Most High to me, and more also, if I taste bread or aught else, till the sun be down. And all the people took notice of it, and it pleased them. As whatever the king did pleased all the people. Whatever he did pleased people. They were Saul killed thousands, David killed tens of thousands. For all the people in all Israel understood that day that it was not of the king to slay Abner the son of Ner. And the king said unto his servants, know ye not that there is a prince and a great man fallen this day in Israel? And I am this day weak, though anointed king. These men, the sons of Zeruiah, be too hard for me. The Most High shall reward the doer of evil according to his wickedness. And he's going to get it. Same way they brought him down, same way they going to go down. They was a mighty warrior. From there, we're going to look at 1 Kings 14. 1 Kings 14. We're looking at burials. First Kings 14. First Kings 14. Look at verse 7. It said, go tell Jeroboam. Jeroboam was the leader, the elder of the northern tribe, 9.5 tribes. When the Most High split the kingdom after King Solomon died. For what he did. And marrying them strange wives and setting up all them strange idol temples, worshiping their gods and so forth. Go tell Jeroboam, thus said the Most High power over Israel, for as much as I exalted thee from among the people and made thee prince over my people Israel, northern tribes, northern 9.5 tribes, and rent the kingdom away from the house of David, and gave it thee, and yet thou hast not been as my servant David, who kept my commandments, and who followed me with all his heart, to do that only, which was right in mine eyes. So you ain't worship me as King David did, but has done evil above all that were before thee. But thou hast gone and made thee other gods, and molten images to provoke me to anger, and has cast me behind thy back, cast me away from you by making all these idols. Therefore, behold, I will bring evil upon the house of Jeroboam, and will cut off from Jeroboam him that pisses against the wall. That's the men. All your sons, I'm going to cut off from you he that pisses against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel, and will take away the remnant of the house of Jeroboam, as a man taketh away dung, till it be all gone. Hear that? He said, as a man take away dung, which is doo-doo, till it be all gone. Him that died for Jeroboam in the city shall the dogs eat. Hear that? Someone let the dogs eat him up. And him that died in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. They die out there in the field, but how the buzzards eat them up. The birds gonna eat them up. For the Most High has spoken it. Arise thou therefore, get thee to thine own house. And when thy feet enter into the city, the child shall die. When you enter into the city, your child gonna die. And all Israel shall mourn for him and bury him. See, he was buried. For he only of Jeroboam shall come to the grave. Hear that? Arise thou therefore, verse 12, get thee to thine own house, and when thy feet enter into the city, the child shall die. And all Israel shall mourn for him and bury him. Remember the other ones, he said in verse 11, he said the dogs gonna eat him up. Those that's in the city, and those in the field, the fowls of the air gonna eat him up. But just one child, he said, verse 13, and all Israel shall mourn for him and bury him. They buried him. He didn't get eaten up by the dogs or the fowls of the air. For he only of Jeroboam shall come to the grave, because in him there is found some good thing toward the most high power of Israel in the house of Jeroboam. See? He was keeping the laws of the Most High, trying to be right by him. He still killed him though, so he's still gonna die. But he's gonna be buried. He got no, situation where the dogs and the birds gonna eat him up. So that's a burial there. Look at Luke, the 7th chapter. Luke, the 7th chapter. For those that's just tuning in, I'm dealing with, cremation and burial. And I was just asked from the beginning of my class, so I really wasn't, prepared. I'm just doing the best I can with what I could seek out from the Most High to answer this question. Look at Luke the 7th chapter. Let's start at verse 10. Luke 7 and 10. And they that were sent, returning to the house, found the servant whole that had been sick. Because it's talking about a centurion asking the Master to just speak the word and the servant be healed. Saying when they were sent, returned to the house, found the servant whole that had been sick. He was healed. And it came to pass the day after that he went into a city named Nain, and many of his disciples went with him, and much people. Now when he came nigh or near to the gate of the city, behold, there was a dead man carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. Her husband had died, and the dead man was the only son of his mother. Much people of the city was with her. When the Mashiach saw her, he had compassion on her, and said unto her, Weep not. And he came and touched the briar, and they that bare him stood still. And he said, Young man, I say unto thee, arise. He said, arise. Briar is like a coffin. Today, we would consider a coffin. So I said, he came and touched the briar or the coffin, and they that bare him stood still. And he said, Young man, I say unto thee, arise. Arise. And he that was dead sat up and began to speak. And he delivered him to his mother. And there came a fear on all. And they glorified the Most High, saying that a great prophet is risen up among us, and that the Most High has visited his people. And this rumor of him went forth throughout all Judea and throughout all the region round about. The disciples of John showed him all of these things. And John calling unto him, John the Baptist, two of his disciples sent them to the Mashiach, saying, Art thou he that should come, or look we for another? Say, are you the Messiah that was supposed to come? Or do we look for another? Is someone else that we looking for? When the men were to come unto him, they said, John the Baptist hath sent us unto thee, saying, Art thou he that should come, or look we for another? And in that same hour he cured many of their infirmities and plagues, and of evil spirits, and unto many that were blind he gave sight. Then the Mashiach answered and said unto them, Go your way and tell John what things ye have seen and heard, how that the blind see, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, to the poor the gospel is preached, to the poor the gospel is preached, and blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me. Say, all these things he was doing when he was on earth. He did, look, go to the last verse of John. Last verses of John. John 21 and 25. It says, And there are also many other things which Mashiach did, the which, if they should be written, every one, everything, all the miracles that he done, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that should be written. I'm not dealing with that Egyptian god right there. Y'all can if you want to. I'm not dealing with that. I'll give all praise and glory to the Most High power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not no Egyptian idol that they done put in there. Sticking him right there. Once you give glory to the Most High, you're supposed to get all the glory. You got that there. You figure. Acts the 8th chapter. Should be verse 1, 2. And Saul was consenting unto his death. Stephen. This is Paul, whose name was changed from Saul to Paul. He was Saul first, though. And Saul was consenting unto his death, until Stephen's death. And at that time there was a great persecution against the church, the children of Israel. Proving who the church is, Acts 7 and 38, since we're here. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness. Who's in the wilderness? 12 tribes of Israel. All 12 tribes. Which the angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai, who was the Mashiach Yahushua as an angel, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us. Right? So, but I'm here because it says, this is he that was in the church in the wilderness. Was we in the building in the wilderness? No, we was wandering 40 years with tents. And when the angel, Mashiach Yahushua, tell you that in 1 Corinthians 10 and 4. When he stopped, he was in the cloud. Tell you his angels, the clouds are his angels, in Psalms 68 and 17. When he was stopped, we put our tent down and we'd be right there until he started moving again. We moved, it was fire at night, turned into the fiery chariot at night, the cloud in the day. And we would move whenever he moved. Guiding us for 40 years in the wilderness. So now that we established the church of the 12 tribes of Israel, and also verse 49 of Acts 7 chapters, everybody talking about God is up in these churches and so forth. Acts 7 and 48. Howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as said the prophet. Once again, howbeit the Most High, the power of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, that's my name forever, and a memorial to all generations. Howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands. So he ain't dwelling up in these churches. There's no building, as said the prophet. He said, heaven is my throne. Hear that? Heaven is his throne. And earth is my footstool. What house will ye build me, said the Most High? Or what is the place of my rest? Had not my hand made all these things? Ye stiff-necked and uncircumcised in mind and heart and ears. That's the way you think and the way you hear. Ye do always resist the Holy Spirit, as your fathers did. So do ye until this day. So now, they done stoned Stephen, put him to death. And Saul was part of it. He was against anybody that taught or rolling by Shabbath Pacific in the name of the Lord and Savior. So, Acts 8 and 1. And Saul was consenting unto his death, to Stephen's death. And at that time, there was a great persecution against the church, the 12 tribes of Israel. Those that were, mainly Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and all the other tribes that was with Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which was at Jerusalem. And they were all scattered abroad throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles, right? Verse 2. And devout men carried Stephen to his burial. See? So they carried Stephen to his burial and made great lamentation over him. So Stephen was carried to his burial and made great lamentation over him. Just a moment.